Hello there, I'm Marion Ellis, and my company, Cape Insights, has made this 7-part series of conversations with crackerjack speakers to give you a taste of things uniquely South African on a voyage of discovery that unpacks our creativity, diversity, heritage, and history. You'll hear from dreamweavers and luminaries about what makes the country captivating and compelling. And on this visual journey that covers a variety of options, from art to zebras, fossils to food foraging, colonization to creativity, you'll be shown aspects of South Africa's vibrant landscape, resilience, sociability, and breathtaking natural beauty that we hope will entice you to venture south and experience it for yourself. This is a learning journey. Join us as we all seek with new eyes. Welcome. So today, the big picture questions are, what makes South Africa captivating as a country? What initiatives or personalities or places are sparking hope, and why and how? And what can South Africa teach the world? So this is a learning journey for us all. Welcome aboard. So Thebe has another good news story. You'll find that he's a full-on adventurer and an avid traveler. In search for what's unique about each of the 55 countries on this continent, do look behind me, that a great many other countries fit into, do look closely America and China, Thebe's discovered that the one undeniable commonality among the over 1.2 billion Africans on this continent, the one undeniable commonality is our humanity and our hospitality. And he's learned that no country is better than another, that each country is different, that differences enrich, and that real truth resides in our differences. In his travels, he's found us in each other. I couldn't think of a more committed goodwill ambassador to talk his walk. Thebe.
What an exciting time to be an African. What an exciting time to be in Africa. I've had a few trips around the continent, so I know one or two things about this continent. I've crossed borders to every single country in the continent. So when I speak about what makes any other country better than other, or different really from another one, I think I have a view or two on what that means. But I tell you what, when I travel, I do one thing differently. I learn, as James Missioner said, if you reject the food, if you reject the food, if you ignore the customs, if you fear the religion, avoid the people, you better stay home. You better stay home. Traveling is exciting undertaking because it requires of you to give yourself to your host nation, if you will. Whether it is climbing the highest mountain, the highest freestanding mountain in the world, Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in South Africa, or whether it is bungee jumping in Zimbabwe from the falls, or lying in Zambia and waiting by the devil's pool, and just hoping that the water doesn't take you away, or it is bungee jumping where the ocean meets the sand dunes in Namibia, or in South Africa where you are at Moses Mabhida and you just let yourself go, or in Soweto, which is just about 100 meters from the ground, or it is skydiving in Cape Town, or skydiving anywhere else in the world, or the highest bungee jump in the world in Blauwkrans, just outside of Cape Town. Tell you what, this is an exhilarating continent that demands of you to trust in it, to believe in it, to give yourself of it. It's a continent that also tugs at your heartstrings, it tugs at your soul. If you go to Gore, you see history, you see the marks of history where history was. But of course, it's a continent as well that requires a bit of patience, whether it is moving in Lagos, stuck in traffic in Lagos, in Kenya, or in Egypt. You better be patient if you're going to be here. But I'll tell you one thing about this continent. They say a man who doesn't travel thinks his mother is the best cook, because you are going to eat some stuff here. You're going to eat. So what I try to do in every trip is to find the best fat cakes, or mandazi as they call them in Kenya or in the East Africa, or beignet as they call them in the Francophone country, or boful as they call them in Ghana, or puff puff in Nigeria, or magwenya in the townships of South Africa. Everywhere I go, I try and find the juiciest of them, the church there, the only church standing in a Muslim country in Mogadishu. And he said to me, he looked at me and says, you're from South Africa? I said, yes. And he said to me, you are Motswana, right? I said, yes. And he says to me, you're from Kimberley? I said, yes. And I'm thinking, this man knows something. I said, this is intelligence at its best. Only to find out, as he told me later, I used to live in your country, because we're all so connected. So connected as the man in the middle who said, can I please use your badge to attend the conference? I said, but you don't look like me. He says, but we are both Africans, and I'll be welcome anywhere I go, even with your face. Whether it's in Kenya, where I found myself unexpectedly in Tanzania without knowing, and I spent a day with the Maasais. Or when I celebrated having gone to every single country in the world, I closed that down looking like a Ghanaian king. If you want some spiritual renewal, this is a continent to go to. If you go to the underground churches in Lalibela, I've gone through a few passports. Gone through a few passports since the day before independence, the bridge, and in the last 5 or so years, I think I've burned about what? I've gone through 7, 10 passports. But the one thing I learned in traveling, that a man who travels does so to discover himself. And we always return to the one place we know best. So some people will do come here, get a bit confused, as Kim Kardashian did when she came to, well, she was in South Africa. And she says, welcome to Botswana. She was in Botswana. She says, welcome to Botswana, South Africa. What a long flight. People get lost. We are not lost here, because we understand that Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent with 55 different countries. And one of those countries is South Africa. What an incredible country, my home country, to come to this country, to engage with the cultures. So I've seen all. So the one thing that's beautiful about this continent is you've got, 2,000 or so cultures around the continent, and every single one of them is different. In my travels to Mpumalanga, to the KwaNdebele, when I'm sitting with the Ndebele people, and I was lucky enough to get an invitation to get to see what an initiation ceremony looks like, how colorful it is, and how unified it looks. Because here in our continent, here in our country, we celebrate our cultures every year. Here in our country, it's a place where you can go into the splendor of the blue train, or get crowned by the queen of African art, Mama Esther, the only artist in the world invited by BMW to paint the iconic car twice. Or you can be taking a little risk in Cape Town, with the whole world and the sea behind you. But a lot has changed. A lot has changed. The world has changed, and tensions are surrounding us like wars. People are more greedy. People are more insular. People are more digital. What is required is for us to be less greedy and to be more fulfilled. People are looking for fulfillment. People are looking to connect still. People are looking to be real. Yes, we understand we're living in a digital age, but people are looking to be real. There is a new generation of travelers who are looking for idealistic, purposeful, who are idealistic, they're purposeful, they're activists. They're people with open minds. And when they come to South Africa, they will tell you, hi, Mpumalanga, if you ever get lonely or need a friend, let me know. I will come right back to you. Because here people come to connect. It's a place that requires of you to be one with the place. It's a place that offers unexpected connections, human connections. People now are traveling because they want to discover their truth, their rawness, their realness, their intrinsic humanity. In a post-truth world, finding and telling your story is the ultimate disruptor, the ultimate connector. Truth to power, truth to self. People are looking for those moments of truth. Those moments when they are standing there in Cape Town or seeing the Blind River Canyon in Mpumalanga. People, when they're standing there and trying to connect with themselves, with the country, they get to see the beauty of this country. South Africa has a city life, a wildlife, a breathtaking scenery, and sun-soaked coasts. But our real truth here in South Africa resides in our differences, our tenacity and resilience, our generosity and compassion, our colorfulness, our imperfections, our music. I'm in Jerusalem, over 120 million downloads. Every country in the world is dancing to Jerusalem. By Master P, by DJ Master P in South Africa. Our languages. I mean, how many other countries have got 11 official languages? Equally, you'll have the same type of food. Our realness, our openness, our very nature. We here are the birthplace of humanity. It is who we are. It is our truth. It is our humanity. People come here and they look at our place and they say, good morning, Cape Town. January is almost over. It's time to start planning another trip in the incredible country called South Africa. People come here because they want to feel connected. They want to feel one with nature. A spirit you cannot touch, that you cannot see, but you can feel. There's a spirit that connects us here, but that also connects the people with South Africa and with themselves and with the world. We're not here to sell South Africa. We're here to live our truth, to connect you with our humanity, to evolve, to uplift and inspire. That's what makes us humanity's home. It's accessible whether you fly. It's accessible whether you want all year round good weather. It's accessible because there's wide open spaces. Because it doesn't matter whether you're a first world traveler or a third world traveler, you will feel at home here. We've got the infrastructure that enables you to enjoy the country at its best. And you can use any currency anywhere else in the world. In my travels around the continent, in my travels in my own country, I have found us in each other. But here in South Africa, I've discovered my own truth. I am Africa.
Ah, Thebe. Well, guys, this is the chance for you to post your questions. And Thebe, a question that's come up is, who's the most inspiring person you've come across in your travels, clearly in Africa? Who would you say?
You know, because I have met so many people. I've engaged with presidents, because I've engaged with celebrities. I've engaged with those. To me, the most inspiring is the everyday African, who's so representative of who we are. I was arriving in Senegal at about 2 a.m. and I drove with the driver to Gambia. We arrived there at about 5 in the morning, and then they tell us that I now need a insurance for the car, which we had rented with the driver. I said, at 5, where am I going to get an insurance? Some guy just passes, and then he says, oh, don't worry, I'll have that solved. So now the first inclination when talk about that in our continent, people always begin to think, oh, he's not going to do the right thing. he's going to get something that is not legitimate. But he actually provides a legitimate insurance at 5 in the morning, because what he does is he pre-bought insurances and then was selling them on. So he pre-bought a cover for people like us. So what's inspiring about that is it's 5 in the morning. It's the entrepreneurial thinking, which is common across our continent, wherever you go. What's inspiring is that person who does not require the big infrastructure, the big money, the big title, who says, I need to make a living, I need to solve a problem. To me, that worked. Because I don't want to say here, oh, Mandela, oh, all those people are par for the course. What everybody who comes to the country or to the continent, the people that are going to come across is the ordinary South African, the ordinary African, who's going to be their driver, who's going to be their porter, who's going to be their guide, is going to be their waiter, is going to be their host, is going to be their reception. That's who they're going to meet. And what they're going to find in them is that common spirit of humility, because that's who we are. We're humble.
Okay. Thank you.
We're going to get that humanity from that.
Okay, and there was another question saying, hey, now that, assuming that borders are open, which country in Africa would be, not for business, for pleasure, which country would you like to visit first?
Which country would like to visit first? I've been to all of them. So I've been to
I know. Which country would you like to revisit first?
In our continent, also out of the 55, I do know. It is planned. It happened before. It's supposed to have happened just before the lockdowns. I was already en route to Egypt to go to Mount Sinai to go find the evidence of Moses receiving the 10 commandments. If I don't find them, I'm going to be upset. But I was going to go there. But that's one. And then, but the other one is, what's interesting is this coming weekend, I then said to my friends, the most beautiful thing about this country is that we haven't traveled our country as well as we can. So I said to my friends, we are going to Tsakani, the township. We are going to explore the township. We're going to go in the morning. And I said to my friend, the Tsepo jeans, who makes the most beautiful jeans here in South Africa, is a designer. And I said, the Duchess of Sussex went and bought the jeans from him and jeans for Archie. And I said to Tsepo, you are hosting us. I said, Tsepo, don't put any pretenses. I don't want to eat in the Royal China or the Royal Dalton. I said, I just want to eat wherever you're going to serve us. Take us wherever you're going to go, so that we get to see the soul of your township, because this country, this continent is very soulful and real.
Okay, so thank you for that. That's unexpected, but lovely. And I hate using the word parochial, but it's really nice to hear that spontaneously you are being a local goodwill ambassador. So thank you. That's really lovely. The second person who is going to be our speaker is Alistair Daynes. And Alistair is a co-founder of a company that shines light on solutions to restore and transform our world by creative, positive, large-scale impact through film, education, and experiences. And these are his feet looking down, and you'll find out why. So this company are getting audiences to understand the problem of ecological loss. So this is taking us into a whole different wild and natural landscape. And they are encouraging us to be part of the solution and to build a community of like-minded individuals. The company is called ReWild, and it's been called by African bush camps one of the most inspiring, purpose-driven companies out there, where passion drives action. The quality is always raised. So Ali's entrepreneurial journey started after his science degree at the University of Cape Town, when, with like-minded collaborators, he put his philosophy into action. And his philosophy is, do what you love, do what you're good at, and do what the world needs. I'd say he's an interface between technology and wilderness, a new age pilgrim who walks his talk. And we're going to see a 5-minute video of walking, or in African parlance, trekking, the Google Trekker. And then he's going to talk to us.
Ndikhumbula ixhego elinobulumko lisithi akukho nto ifana nokubuyela endaweni ufike ingatshintshanga. Uqaphele ukuba nguwe otshintshileyo.
It's funny how sometimes we don't truly understand something until we spend time with it, until we immerse ourselves with it, until we know where it's from. South Africa has some of the most spectacular hiking trails and national parks in the world. We wanted to get them online to be virtually experienced, so that travelers would be inspired to come and see for themselves. This is the story of a group of people who came together and set out on an adventure to put their neck of the woods on the map.
This is the Google Tracker.
His name is Gary, and Gary has taken us to some amazing places.
The Google Tracker is a 22-kilogram backpack camera. It takes a full panoramic picture of every time you take a step.
I had the feel of it on my back.
To see a co-tracker put on the Google Tracker on his back and that smile on his face.
It was really exciting.
It's a great privilege for me to carry it.
To be out in nature is to feel more connected. Feel different textures, from sand to rock to salty water. Seeing a little insect on a plant right next to you.
There are so many flowers that have so many unique designs.
You're in tune with what's going on. You're listening out for the clicks of the guide.
The waves pounding around you.
Ability to see into the distance for miles and miles.
Sometimes you could just hear nothing and it was bliss.
I can feel I'm falling nowhere.
The most dangerous moments for me was the time when we hiked up Cathedral Peak in the Drakensberg Mountains.
Only when we finished the hike were we told that it's used as a testing ground for those wanting to hike Everest.
So we were busy tracking, and then we saw 2 rhinos and a baby rhino, and they were running up and down, and looking up and down, and I was just standing here, crouching down, like trying not to squeak.
It sounds ridiculous, but essentially at any point you could have a line just behind the bush, and often we've bumped into those sort of scenarios.
We walked past zebras, we saw snakes, vultures in the Drakensberg Mountains, we saw elephants, cheetah. On Google Maps you'll be able to go into these incredible parks of Southern Africa, and you'll have access to see what it's like to be on foot with the various animals. You know, this cradle of mankind. It was said that on planet Earth during the Ice Age, this part of the world was the one place where some life was kept. So that genius of life from millions of years ago still holds roots in Southern Africa. And you can see that through its diversity.
The team as a whole have walked over 160 hikes in South Africa, which is about 900 kilometers on foot. We've driven 50,000 kilometers collectively in 2 infinity loops around the country.
We visited all 19 national parks and have now covered 6 of the 8 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in South Africa.
We've engaged with 572 people along our journey that have all helped us carry the camera.
What's really exciting is not just that South Africa is now available to be explored on Google Maps, but that so many South Africans were a part of that process. And they can say, that trail, I put that on Google Maps. It's a
society's almost forgotten how to explore. Once we rediscover how to do it and the joys that come out of it, it just awakens some sense of happiness.
We've noticed along the way that people do have a really strong connection to the place they live.
All over the provinces, they all got their history amazing. I think that's why South Africa is so important and should be a #1 destination.
It's more than home. It's like it's where I communicate with ancestral spirits.
We should be very thankful that we have this kind of landscape here. You won't find it anywhere else in the world.
To tap on your computer and you'll have all this at your perusal is just quite amazing.
Places you see today are from the joy and the love of people wanting to showcase the incredible landscape to the world.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you and on South Africa. As I'm sure you've just seen, it is such an incredible and diverse country with some amazing people, as well as some natural landscapes which truly have blown my tiny little mind. It is quite a special country indeed. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the diversity of it. And I think that's really what makes South Africa so exceptional. It is the third most biologically diverse country in the world. And so you get landscapes such as the Blyde River Canyon just on the edge of the Kruger, to the Ruchtesveld, which is just a moon-like landscape. It's pretty much like traveling to Mars. And the Drakensberg as well. It's where the Lord of the Rings was originally inspired and partly written. So all these landscapes, I think, add so much natural value to the land. I think that it's such a weird one because, you know, we don't really have a way in which to value nature in, I think, our society. And so that's one of the things that through this Google Trekker trip, you know, getting to experience all these different biomes, as well as hiking. At the end, I think it actually ended up being about 180 different hiking trails. We walked and talked, and along these trails, the specific trail in front of me, I clearly remember us conceptualizing the company, in which we called ReWild. And this is Elvis, or LV now. And LV and ReWild is essentially, it's a small group or business which seeks to find and showcase solutions to ecological restoration. And we believe that those solutions lie within individuals, as well as organizations that are really valuing both people and planet, and are sort of leading the way in conservation or rewilding or sustainability. So yeah, the last part I just wanted to mention about the importance of conserving spaces like this. That this is really what I think South Africa's got so much to offer, is these deep experiences. And it's deep experiences such as, I think, the Google Trekker trip, or if we look back in our lives, deep experiences really, really encourage deeper questioning. And deeper questioning inspires a deeper commitment as well. And so, you know, for kids, going out into the bush and having these deep experiences really does impact you. And I definitely can trace back my experiences to when I was a kid and I hiked the hiking trails along the east coast of South Africa. And it was so funny just to see that again and realize I've just done a full circle. And so the beauty of being able to conserve these wild spaces, I think there's so much value there, as well as there's so much to learn. You know, we often always look north for inspiration, you know, to Stanford's or the Harvards of the world. But rarely do we look to nature. I think that's what biomimicry can teach us, and that's what South Africa really has so much of. These are all examples on how we can bring nature into our cities, into our designs, into our buildings, into our homes, into our gardens, and into our hearts as well. And I think that by reconnecting and emulating nature, I think we will then build a much more sustainable world. Now, if you look to a forest is the epitome of sustainability. Nothing is more sustainable than a forest. A forest does not have a sustainable action plan or does an EIA. It just is. And if we can replicate that or mimic that nature, I think that will be moving towards a future in which we can create, which is, I think, quite beautiful. When we look to nature, it's got these patterns. They call it the golden ratio, and you'll find this within seashells, within the arc of a fish eagle's flight, such as here, or in the universe. So nature is really quite mysterious. It's quite brilliant. It's quite beautiful. And if we often always look north for inspiration from the Harvards or the Stanford universities for their knowledge. But if we can look towards nature and look towards what's in Africa, I think we can revalue and re-understand the importance of that. And so I encourage you guys to head out and reconnect with nature wherever you are. Go on a hike and just, I think ReWild yourself and allow nature into your heart if you haven't already. And encourage you guys to think outside the box or just think outside.
Thank you, Ali. I think the question that's most relevant that's come up that you should answer is, which animal needs the most protection right now to not become extinct? Can you answer that?
Hey, Marion. Great. What a fantastic evening. Sure. I'd say it would be the African pangolin. I think due to its
oh Lord, yeah, right.
Yeah, so cute. I don't know if you've ever seen them walk on 2 feet. It's quite something to see. Such a beautiful and just quite a lovable creature as well. Very rare to see.
Perhaps the negative of the past 6 months will make this a positive in terms of focusing our awareness on it. Yeah. Thank you. I think from a time point of view, I ought to say thank you, Ali, and go on and talk about our third speaker, who is I'm waiting for the slide to come up. There she is. Okay, she and her, so these are co-founders, guys, of a most amazing gallery in Cape Town called Southern Guild. And since they started it, they have been dancing to their own tune. I don't think they named their venture lightly. The word guild connotes the theme of making. Since medieval times, a guild has been an association of people formed for mutual aid and to maintain standards of excellence. The word still represents the coming together of dedicated makers, striving to preserve and protect and provoke groundbreaking design. So this dynamic duo, Julian and his wife Trevyn, who's going to be speaking to you, is shaping the world's perceptions of African design that have flown beneath the radar for far too long. And they're forging a unique and an authentic vernacular in the international arena. Because handmade pieces are what really contain meaning for society and for the people who own them. In Africa, craft is very old, but design is very young. In the established world of collectible design, South Africa has something very new to say. And part of the appeal of contemporary South African design is that it's unfettered, it's imaginative, and it's energetic. It invites you to think. And here's Trevyn to tell us how and why.
Well, what I think makes South Africa so compelling is that it is a country that is in extraordinary change. And in our world, it's change for the better. It's reaching broader audiences. It's we're able to articulate ourselves better. We're examining all kinds of angles of society, and I mean specifically now in the creative fields, in art and in design, and where there are a lot of sort of difficult stories and difficult things that are happening and difficult things in the news. Within design and art, there is extraordinary, extraordinarily exciting things happening. And I lived in London for 20 years and came back to South Africa about 17 years ago. My husband and I would come back on holidays, and we found ourselves counting the days till we could come back again. And we realized that actually this was where we wanted to bring up our young family. And more importantly, this is where we wanted to be part of a cultural movement that was happening. And I think, the participants of that movement had been quite isolated before sort of 2005, 2003, and they were working in silos. And our coming to the country sort of coincided with a readiness and extraordinary platforms like Design Indaba to bring the design industry together and to articulate it as an industry and to really share the common goals that this industry has, and also the kind of joy and the point of difference that we could bring to the rest of the world. So I've stuck on this slide of Andile Dilvani because he really, for me, typifies the kind of artist that I feel incredibly lucky to be working with, and that we have worked on some extraordinary projects together over the last several years. We share Andile with a gallery in New York called Friedman Bender, or we sort of co-host exhibitions together. And with a sort of fourth major solo that we're working with at the moment called Itongo, Andile has produced 18 stools that represent a ceremonial coming together of a clan or a group of people, and we will showcase that work in the Eastern Cape, in the village where Andile came from, about 14 hours outside of Cape Town, before we show it in our gallery in the waterfront, and then it will go to New York in June to Friedman Bender. And what is so special about this, and I'm kind of going a little bit more in depth with this question, is that for me, it really typifies what it means to be a South African designer or a designer from Africa. As a gallery, we do showcase work from artists all over the continent. And what Itongo is about really is a language that Andile has created out of symbols, or a kind of modern day hieroglyphic that represents not only his community, not only sort of the natural world, but also what makes us human, so that there is a sign or a shape for twins, or for doctor, or for Luna, or for a crop. And so we are drawn together as from wherever we are in the world to experience this new language, to sit on these stools and to recognize and see one another. So Andile's previous exhibition was called Kamagu, which has many meanings, but one of them, which is I see you. And I think, to go back to what makes South Africa a compelling place to visit, is just that, is that as a nation, despite the very, very difficult times that the country has been through in a lot of different ways, the people are incredibly open, and we genuinely want to share with people from other countries, but also with each other. So collaboration and cooperation and the sharing of ideas and concepts and opportunities is huge here. And I think that that's one of the things. I've been working in design for 17 years. I've had a lot of international visitors from, one of the divisions of our company. We supply all of the retailers around the world, people like Restoration Hard and the Conran shop, and we've had teams of buyers coming to South Africa, and one of the things that they most comment on is this idea of wanting to take something away with them from here because it changes them. I've never really had a visitor who hasn't found things that they didn't expect and being touched in a much deeper way than they often are when they travel. So I think there's a depth and an authenticity and a connection that is very, very specifically to do with South Africa. These are works that Andile produced at Leach Pottery in England in a residency 2 years ago. And again, they speak of this collaboration between an English studio, Japanese influence that studio has had for 100 years, and an African sensibility and an identity from Andile, and this beautiful coming together of three cultures. This is also work earlier by Andile that sort of shows how much his collections change from each concept and each narrative. And the work we're doing with artists has been very much, what we find to be really kind of catalyst and exciting dynamic change at the moment is that there are a lot of artists who are finding their voice. Or and when I say artists in our world specifically, that means designers who, art has been a very established medium around the world for a very, very long time. But design as a collectible element or a limited edition body of work is relatively new. And so artists that we work with potentially maybe were making smaller pieces originally, smaller vases or tabletop, and who are now scaling up into these very large scale furniture pieces, still using the same skills and techniques with ceramic or with timber. But actually, this is Chuma Mweni, who's producing pieces for a lodge project that we've assisted on in Africa, where he's making over 100 works of art that this lodge will kind of really recognize the artists of the country. I think I can say the lodge is Kidjara in Botswana, and it features work by over 76 of the leading artists in South Africa. Dr. and Mrs., for example, here. This is a collection that came from a love story to Johannesburg, is what I call it, showing all of the kind of difficult parts of Joburg, but also the underbelly and then the passion parts. It was a beautiful body of work that was in the gallery a couple of years ago. These are the kasenas that they're making for Kidjara Lodge. Madoda Fani, an extraordinary ceramic artist who smoke fires, incredible detail and carving, and a very strong identity to his work, who again has started to scale up and to produce these larger timber pieces, still retaining this exquisite shape and form and skill from his ceramic work. This is Andile. We're about to show our first exhibition in the gallery after lockdown, which is called Solace, that will open at the end of October. And all of the work will have been produced during lockdown and at a time when, many places couldn't work or businesses couldn't operate, but our artists were able to continue making because they moved into their studios or they worked on their rooftop or they found a way to produce. They had to keep working during this time. It was there's an unspeakable drive to make. It's not a business decision. It's a calling, really. And so this work at Solace on the 29th of October will be showing brand new work from almost 30 artists that produced work during this time. I'm showing a work here by Porky Heffer, who is potentially one of the most famous artists out of South Africa, and he takes his inspiration from the natural world. And our final question of what can SA teach the world, it's really how to look back to nature and how to preserve our relationship with nature. He's inspired by birds' nests, by sea creatures, by animals in the bush, and through this playfulness and through this playfulness and this wit, we are entranced and intrigued to sit in these pieces, to become the bird or the animal, and through that we actually learn more about. We did a big project for the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation of endangered animals, and you would fling yourself into an orangutan or a polar bear, and while you were having kind of this beautiful, enjoyable moment, you were also understanding that these animals were endangered and weren't going to be part of our landscape anymore. Another thing that we do as a gallery is that we look outside of the remits of sort of people exactly from our discipline. So Rich Manisi is a fashion designer who we have been producing furniture pieces with for the last 3 or 4 years, and the fact that he has a very important narrative that he wants to share with the world, and that he wants to articulate around the fact that he's been brought up by generations of women. This piece, these are pieces that hold you, that embrace you, his ancestors rising from the ground, and I think that really is what one of the core themes that comes through again and again in the work for our gallery is that the artists are inspired by the people that have come before them. They want to honor those people and recognize them and pay homage to them. And they also want to do that to the natural world. And I think that this is a beautiful message right now for the whole globe, is look after those who have come before you and look after the world around you, because that really is what makes us human.
Thank you. And I'd say, out of a few questions that have popped up, one that you could aptly answer is, what's one word that describes the design world, clearly your design world, right now? One word.
One word, that's very hard. Unstoppable.
Lovely.
I'd say that there's probably never been a moment quite like this. I've had 2 conversations yesterday with, the most important museums in the world. And I think that there is such an interest in Africa, and there is such an interest in sort of the origin of mankind, really. And I think that our designers have been in training and in development and working towards this very moment. They're ready, and they're feeling confident and empowered, and they've matured. And as a gallery, we've matured and are able to articulate the work that is being done, and the rest of the world is ready. And so it feels like a wonderful moment, really.
Thank you. Viva. Lovely. Thanks so much, Trevyn. A phrase that we have long held close to our hearts, which is part of our company's ethos, is this quote by Marcel Proust: "A real voyage of discovery consists not only in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." This got us to putting to our speakers what's called a Proust-style question. Its origins are in a parlor game popularized by Proust, the French novelist, who believed that in answering these questions, an individual reveals his or her true nature. So to discover this, our question to all of our speakers is, what travel quote do you personally live by? And I'm going to start with Trevyn. Trevyn, what's your travel quote?
Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. That's by Mark Twain.
Oh, lovely. Fabulous. Thank you. Ali, what's your... No, let's get Thebe. Thebe, sorry, won't you tell us what travel quote do you personally live by? It will be revealing.
Well, I think I started with it. I started with that one that says, you know, if you're going to reject the people, you're going to reject the customs, you're going to reject everything, then you may as well stay home. So I thought it's a beautiful quote. It sums up how I travel anyway, because people always say to me, you eat all this funny stuff everywhere you go. You are always dressed so differently. You dress like a Ethiopian, you dress like a Kenyan, you dress everywhere you go. I said, no, I don't do anything funny. I don't do anything weird. I'm just one with the people where I go. But, I think it's Hemingway who said he's never ever woken up in Africa anywhere without being happy, because he's the happy one.
Yeah.
We're smiling.
Lovely. And I prefer that. Ali, what would your one quote that you think is worth living by be?
I've got many. I guess one would be the quality of your experience or travels is determined by the quality of your questions that you ask.
Nice one. Lovely. Thank you. And we're going to be showing your picture and on for your other travel quote, but thank you for that. Now, the speakers today painted a big picture, guys, about the southern tip of Africa on this vast continent that we showed you in the beginning. And they gave you a glimpse of natural landscapes and an inkling into a creative spot in the waterfront in Cape Town's vibrant waterfront. But since we do have 3,000 kilometers of shoreline and 2 oceans to show for ourselves, if you want to get a glimpse of our marine landscape, why don't you watch a Netflix global hit, My Octopus Teacher? You'll see some breathtaking photographic teamwork for yourself, and you'll definitely be enriched. We're plugging it because we're just so proud and we're so happy that it's been happening. You've just had a glimpse of aspects of South African landscapes and heard from some local personalities of note. And there are more, all thought-provoking, stimulating, eye-catching. So please join us on our other learning journeys. If you venture south, or better still, when you venture south, you'll get more than a taste of our delectable food and our award-winning wines. We'll show you over a variety of our landscapes on one of our small group tours designed for curious travelers that delve deeply into the same niches you're seeing in the series. These are a mere taster, just so you know. We thought an appropriate way to end would be to share a salutation in Xhosa, which is one of our 11 official languages, and it means go well or stay well. So, with our thanks and good wishes, hamba kahle.